And here we go, everyone. It is Tuesday night. It's 8 o'clock Central. That means it is Earth's Mightiest Critics talking about a new movie. We're talking about Mercy, a film that hasn't received a lot of mercy from critics. Fans, according to Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not sure how much that means as far as numbers and metrics and actual sentiment, but they seem to dig this far more than film critics. I think it's 23% critics and something like 87% fan positive reaction. I don't know what's going on with this movie, but tonight we're going to try and get to the bottom of it. This is a film that was directed by Timur Bekmambetov, a filmmaker whose work I generally love. And no, I'm not kidding. I stand by Night Watch, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, and Wanted. Seriously, Mercy is different. It falls into the screen life genre, which is something I didn't even know about until about 2 hours ago. It's a self-explanatory genre from what I can find. The movie takes place primarily on computer screens, with the plots unfolding with folders and where drama is measured in stubborn progress bars. One of the best examples is Anish Chaganty's Searching from 2018, starring John Cho. And one of the worst, apparently, is a film that Bekmambetov produced last year, a film so bad it may sweep this year's Razzies, the War of the Worlds remake with Ice Cube. I've not seen it. I have not ventured down that dark path. But Bekmambetov was a producer on that film, and now he brings us Mercy, which takes place in 2029 and stars Chris Pratt as, I'm not making this up, Chris Raven, an LA detective who helped create the Mercy Court, similar to the Pre-Crime Division and Minority Report. Mercy is an omnipotent artificial intelligence program that uses every possible bit of technology and surveillance at its disposal to try, convict, and execute criminals. Of course, Chris Raven ends up in the court, wrongfully accused of having killed his wife. He has 90 minutes to prove his innocence to the AI judge, Maddox, played by Rebecca Ferguson, or else he'll be electrocuted in the very chair to which he is shackled. Despite scathing reviews, this movie managed to knock Avatar, Fire and Ash out of the top spot last weekend with an absolutely record-shattering, stunning $11 million. The question is, does Mercy deserve the bile and derision being hurled at it by critics, or do its defenders and the everyday audience have a point? We'll find out tonight as I welcome Earth's Mightiest Critics. Today we have David Fowley of Keeping It Real. We have Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front, and we have Jeff York of The Establishing Shot and Pipeline Artists. And I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. Let's get into this movie. Now, I have a feeling, based on some discussion we had before we went live, that I may be the only person to semi-defend this movie on the panel. Everyone else, I believe, is ready to push that button to electrocute the Chris Pratt substitute, in this case being me, for the crime of mounting any kind of defense. So who wants to go first with their opinion of Mercy? Jeff, up with the hand.
I'll take the bullet.
All right, let's do it.
As I said in my review online, I think there's a very clever idea in this kind of film. And some of the films that you just listed that the film director was part of, I think prove that. There's something interesting in our computer world about watching how computers become more prevalent, and sometimes for good, sometimes for bad, but it becomes a detective story as we open files and find out things going on. And I think the idea that now, to undo the clogged up court system and present a sort of unvarnished, sort of facts only kind of case is an interesting premise. And, then, sort of the idea that you're fighting for your life in real time, knowing that the proverbial ticking clock is up in the corner, like Kicking the Seat logo is in mind. Those are great sort of visceral, grabbed by the collar kind of movie experiences that you do in a group of people that are all sort of breathlessly watching this and cheering it on. So I applaud that, and there's some parts of that which I think play off well. I think it's rather inspired casting that Rebecca Ferguson is the judge here, because she's always got kind of a implacable face anyway, so you can see them going with that. And I love the fact that Katie, who's usually so full of brightness and light, is sort of channeling that person now, listening to my argument about this. I don't know if I've gone below 92% yet, but anyway. But where I find it was confounding, and where I started to just kind of back away after leaning in on a movie like this, is I think the laziness. Uh, Arguably, if you watch it from just the way it's put together, its technique, its acting, its energy, some of the set pieces are very good. You could be sort of convinced that this is a clever film, but it's not nearly as clever as it should be. And I maybe had too high of expectations for this. But knowing that in this day and age, AI can literally read 10,000 files. I mean, I do some of the malware bites every month just to make sure my system is good. And literally, they read 24,000 files in 30 seconds. No bugs here, you're fine. And all this evidence, all these closed circuit security cameras at the police station and various parts of the city and the street and all that are not found, are not examined. It makes me wonder how they ever got this program through, because it doesn't look like a very smart detective. It looks like a very naive detective. Like, okay, we can gather all this stuff, but heaven forfend we should put two and two together and never figure out something that's going on. There are some things where are jaw-dropping stupidity here, like, okay, really, the computer didn't put that together. They didn't bother to check that footage. They didn't bother to find out who these people are. If we can read all these faces and all this kind of stuff, we can't read them when they're talking to us, that they're lying. We can't find where they are. Oh, this one guy is not in the Home Depot where he's supposed to be working. He's at his home. And they figured that out because he just put up a fake calendar behind him. Really? That's as good as this AI is, that he can't pinpoint places. So to me, in a movie that relies on all that kind of stuff to convince us that, well, I guess crime-ridden LA would go along with this system, and maybe that's what we need across the globe, is, this kind of harsh, tough stance on it, not allowing for lawyers to showboat or for things to be suppressed and all that kind of stuff. But the screenwriter's the suppressor here. The screenwriter wants to keep stuff from us, so we can't figure it out before Chris Pratt does. And suddenly this man who's too drunk to even know that he was fighting 6 people in a bar, because that's what happens when you black out, is suddenly now, 20 minutes later, so sober that he's out thinking a computer. I threw up my hands at the whole thing and said, at that point, I'm not in this anymore. This is silliness. And it's had a chance to be smart. And I'll use the searching as a quick last example before handing it over to my fellow prosecuting attorneys. Searching continually surprised me, not only because John Chu was pretty smart and adapting, but he knew where to look. And he thought of things about, oh, wait a minute, I do know my daughter better. I know she does this. I know she's here. I know this is her friend. He was constantly thinking. And, at a certain point, that's all that Chris Pratt does to win, is he's thinking more than the computer. And the computer, after it's presented its case, gives up. Basically, it's like, oh, well, I'm sticking to my 97% until Chris Pratt's like, dummy, here it is. And then the computer has to go, oh, well, yeah, I guess so. I just, that premise had a great potential, and I think they squandered it.
Well, we'll come back to some of that, because, and I would probably have to watch the movie again, because I know the computer did kind of push back when Chris Pratt's character, Chris,
Yeah.
would make a point that to the audience, because we have the advantage of watching this entire thing unfold, where the characters in that courtroom don't necessarily. But he would say, well, obviously that clears me of some, some of these gets me some percentage towards innocence. And then Judge Maddox would say, well, perhaps if this other factor turns out to be true. It's not just like, hey, look, the guy's leaving the building. That means he couldn't have been there. Well, he might have if I don't want to get too spoilery too early, but there is some back and forth there. And I agree. I mean, this is the second time feature screenwriter, Marco Van Bell. So there might be some, growing pains to work through there. But yeah, we'll come back to some of that. But sure. Katie, what say you?
So I actually saw this movie twice.
You did? Okay.
I saw it at the critic screening because I wanted to make sure that I saw it in silence and I didn't have people talking and I would have anger, which I kind of pretty much thought I was gonna not be watching a movie, even though I don't watch, the trailers. I just wanted to watch it and all that stuff. But I also wanted to watch it in the format that it's supposed to be seen in, which is IMAX and 3D. Seeing it in 2D, I was like, you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing some of these scenes in IMAX and 3D because I think this will really benefit from that. Ironically, or maybe it's not ironically, the beginning of the film, I think, looks great in 3D. I thought that was great. The part where I thought would really stand out in 3D and IMAX fell totally flat. And I already, like, after seeing it the first time, was not impressed. I saw a lot of holes and stuff. And then for that to happen, I'm like, well, what the hell? You couldn't even get that right.
But you were let me just ask this. Sorry to break in, but you were so hopeful that the 3D IMAX element could salvage some of the movie that you actually put yourself through it twice.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Now, just curious,
I really was hoping that there was going to be, like, when the big explosion happened, I thought that would be, especially with the fire and people, like, I thought that would look great in 3D. No. The beginning of the film was much more effective and had, to me anyway, was much more effective in 3D and IMAX than that scene. One of the things about the film is that it starts out, and I called it a mediocre Minority Report. It was very much, it's so wanted to be Minority Report just without the smarts, because the whole reasoning why Chris gets involved has nothing to do with, like, why that didn't work, has nothing to do with the criminal. It had more to do with the court system. And I feel like with this whole, like, the mercy court system, like, especially the first person, this is something that it's like, okay, I don't know. There were so many things that, if LA has this much crime and stuff like that, I really don't think you needed to have the first person that was one of the the first person that was on trial to be someone who obviously had some sort of drug influence, who was mentally impaired. Well, there seems like there should have been a plethora of criminals, that this isn't something that you had to have the first person be this way. And yet they did. And then we find out the different aspects. And also, I would have liked to have seen, especially when we see what happens, if the film would have shown, like, Judge Maddox and that person who was on trial, what she was saying to them, what they were saying to her. Because I feel like there's a lot of things that it's like, when we see what she's like with Chris, when she's like, look at the facts, dig deeper, there's more to this. It's like, she didn't give up on him. She's like, you can look at more of this stuff. Did she do that with the other criminals in there? Because I feel like, especially with the first one, that shouldn't have happened. And with everything they say, she has access to every single camera, like, database, everything, even without, saying, oh, we've got the knife in this. She should have been able, it's like, okay, here's a criminal. Let's factor their face. Let's do this. She should have been able to figure that out by herself, that it's like, yeah, no, it can't be him. Like, he has all this stuff. But the fact that this mercy judicial system has only been in practice for 2 years, this is the 19th case.
Yeah.
Yet crime has gone down 68%.
Well, I think it's
a lot of numbers there that don't make sense to me. I mean, if it was 119 or 1,019, yeah, I could kind of see, like, oh crap, no, 19 cases, and they say that the crime has gone down 68%. I'm not buying it.
And not a RoboCop in sight.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the idea, and this goes back to your question about the first, first person to be prosecuted and executed under the system. They set up these parameters, and I don't know how they determine this because they don't really get into it, but they have to meet a threshold of guilt in order to be in that chair in the first place. It's like, you have to be, according to all the available evidence, something like 92% guilty, and then you've got, up until that, if you go over that, then you can't convince the virtual judge, then you get executed in the chair. So in his case, then there were some facts that came out that couldn't really have been known by anyone because they were very personal facts. One involved a ripped photograph. So having all, and I think this is sort of the point that they were trying to get at with the film, is having all the computer technology and firepower, virtual firepower in the world can't help you see around the blind corners that a human being can with their relationships and the stickiness of those. As far as the crime going down so rapidly, I would imagine that as a deterrent, advertising out there and possibly even showing these executions on television, because they make a whole big commercial out of it where they show, I think, the other 18 people, because Chris Raven is the 19th, going through this process and one of them being executed. They kind of blur out the face while it's going on. If the message is, yeah, it doesn't matter if you are a high-powered attorney who committed a horrible crime, or you're a junkie living on Skid Row who is accused of murdering someone. If we have enough evidence to put you in this chair, you're going in the chair. And by the way, our conviction execution rate is 100%. I could see that being kind of a terror grip on a community. Now, they could have really expanded on this, but again, the movie isn't really interested in that. It's about the one person in the chair in this one case. And I agree that's a bit of a shortcoming. That was an eyebrow raise for me. 2 years, and this is the 19th case, especially because they're virtual judges, and there's this giant building, which you feel like, since there's not, I mean, it's one chair and one kind of monitor. He's in this giant room, I guess, so that they can affect all this virtual, like you are there, on the crime scene, swirling around, IMAX-y type effects. But I also feel like you could accomplish the same thing by putting them in like a cell with a virtual helmet and have things like go that way. You could put 1,000 people on that floor and have trials every 90 minutes or something, and really clean things up. So yeah, I agree. I think the screenplay does have some rough patches to work out, but with what they decided to do here, the best way I can put it is, this is, baby's first techno thriller. It's for the people who watch this and say, that's pretty good, but what else you got? And then you can say, oh, there's this little thing called Minority Report, to your point, Katie. But we'll come back to a lot of this. And David, I want to get your thoughts here.
It's maybe a minor Minority Report, or or like, if this was a 90s film, movie, this could be like Virtuosity or Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chris Pratt's father-in-law.
That's right.
I'll give this movie some mercy in that it looks good, but it really had me thinking about something I never really thought about. Well, a lot of things, but mainly that Chris Pratt is a good physical actor. So throughout most of this movie, he's sedentary.
Yeah.
Which not a whole lot of people can convey, like, a lot of dimensions for their character or nuance by just being strapped into a chair. And I don't think that, I don't think he had the right, or that we have the right actor here for this role, but
there's, to that point, and if I might divert you for a second, because we do have a question that Sejua posted on Facebook a couple of days ago that I want to post to the group here, but it does kind of relate back to Chris Pratt. But who would you have in mind? Because I had that same question while I was watching a good portion of this movie. Like, he's kind of wrong for this. He's good in parts, but there's someone better, but I couldn't quite place who would be my ideal Chris Raven. Did you have someone that you picked out and said, oh, this would have been not perfect, but much better if it had been X?
I mean, I think like somebody like, say, like Peter Skarsgård, somebody who it looks just kind of like your average guy, and not some hero detective or something like that, who, this is a guy who could be really, this character could be really like kind of smug and proud of his role in these courts. And I could see, Skarsgård playing kind of like this, kind of politically savvy detective who knows how to who's proud of what he's done and knows how to play the system and that. But yeah, I mean,
somebody more enigmatic.
Yeah,
You know, you automatically like Chris Pratt. He always
Right.
plays the good guy. There's an aw shucks all-American boy to him, even when he's playing a doofus like in The Office. It needed somebody who, on first blush, you don't know if he's good or bad, like a Peter Sarsgaard, like a, you know, some of those kind of actors who can go both kind of, you know, Chris Walken, I know back when he was younger more. He would be too old for this role now, but, you know, you could see him as both the hero or the villain. And I think that would have at least presented to us watching, as well as to supposedly the court, somebody who on face value doesn't seem to read innocent, where here he reads innocent. And where else does the script go? Of course, unless he is.
Right.
So
Well,
it's almost on the nose casting.
Ben
that's a good
Foster
point.
would have been a good choice.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good one
Yes.
too. Very good.
But then this movie wouldn't be made. What am I? That's weird.
I know. You went to
Well,
yeah.
But
Yeah, I
then
mean-
this movie wouldn't be made because it doesn't have a name star. It doesn't have a Chris. It needs a Chris. So would Chris Pine, Chris Huddleston, or Chris Evans be better? I don't know.
or Chris Hemsworth.
Hemsworth.
Chris
Yeah.
Pine.
Did I say Huddleston? Yeah. But yeah.
I could see Chris Pine
David
doing
Huddleston.
that.
That's interesting.
No, but I think
Rowan
yeah,
Atkinson.
but no, that's something that, you know, we talked about in Minority Report, and it's sort of there's probably a movie that is very obvious that I'm not thinking about, but something that is in this same genre of the good guy wrongfully accused, but where the audience doesn't even know if he's guilty. Because in both Minority Report, because it's Tom Cruise, and this movie, because it's Chris Pratt, we're just waiting for the answer to be revealed to us as to how he's innocent, how we know for sure that he's the good guy. Are there movies that have that genuine ambiguity where you have a movie star who's like, oh, I mean, the closest I could think of is possibly like Ed Norton
I
in
was just
Primal
gonna say
Fear.
him. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
The Fugitive.
Yeah. But
I mean, it's kind of an AI
No.
The Fugitive. I mean, we think
But
that
Harrison
Harrison
Ford.
Ford isn't it, but we don't know.
none of these screenplays have the guts to actually, like, we think we're okay with what's going to happen with Chris Pratt because we know in 90 minutes he'll find a way to defend his case and he'll be innocent. He'll be all right. Why not make it a screenplay where he actually did kill his wife?
Or maybe make him guilty or bad of some things. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what was the
Or
movie
maybe-
with Kurt Russell back in the day where he was, what was it? The Blue, he was on court. He was
Dark Blue?
Dark Blue. That's it. Where, you know, we like Kurt Russell. He's usually the hero, but sometimes he can play a bad guy. Snake Plissken, a bad guy who's also a good guy. But in that, he was corrupt. He wasn't as bad as they said, but he was corrupt.
Yeah,
There's other places like that with certain actors and stuff. Or do you go and cast somebody like Jeremy Strong, who reads as bad, who reads as unlikable, and just by his demeanor and his kind of shiftiness seems to be unreliable or unbelievable, and yet he's actually innocent, even though he presents as guilty.
Well, I like the Jeremy Strong idea there because he also seems more like a bureaucrat, like the kind of person who would be pushing for this kind of a program. Now, what's interesting about what you had said, David, is I don't know how you would do this. I mean, there has been this kind of trend in recent years of turning the villain into kind of this sympathetic, if not protagonist, at least making them somewhat likable or charismatic enough to carry part of a film. Can you have a movie about a guy who is clearly guilty of a horrendous crime, and the whole point is to see if he can convince this AI that he didn't do it, whether as a test or if it's like we are as the audience are kind of complicit and we're hoping he doesn't get away with it, but we kind of feel like he will because it's Chris Pratt or whoever. Yeah,
I'd be on board. Like, what if you had like, and I hate this stuff where we're freaking rewriting the movie and everything.
But it's mercy. We got what choice do we have?
But,
We're gonna talk about this movie for 90 minutes.
Yeah. But what if Pratt's character Raven was so heavily involved in the formation of this AI court that, you know, maybe he had a partner and they parted ways, and, you know, a partner who worked on it with him, and they parted ways. And what if, let's say he did inadvertently kill his wife, and maybe his former partner, knows how to, knows that he knows how to figure out the AI and get around the AI system and try and convince them that he's innocent when he's actually not. So it would be a very like twisty, dizzy kind of De Palma, head turner.
Or
That's not this movie.
to build on what you're saying, David, I mean, there's some rational things you could do that maybe aren't necessarily glamorous, but they would at least be more logical. For example, if there were certain files that were closed, they were frozen, or they were, shut down because of, the LAPD is keeping these under wraps or something like that, and he couldn't get them. And maybe they were little things that led to something bigger for him to discover. And then the judge would say, I did the best with what I was given, and I don't have access to these files. Well, geez, aren't you, he would ask and argue, aren't you supposed to get all evidence? All evidence that is available. And sometimes evidence is not available. That's true whether you're an AI judge or a regular human judge. That might have been a little bit more of an interesting angle, and that's where some of the stuff could have been hidden. I also disagree with you, David. I think it's good to analyze this stuff and think of it better, because if we can think of that as just after just one viewing, these filmmakers who've been on this for 2 years have no excuse.
I know it's good to do, but I don't want to do it.
But I think it's.
I want the movie to be better, so I don't have
to people bitch about a movie.
I want the movie to be better, so I don't have to do it.
But that's how you talk about a film being better. What would make it better? Otherwise, we're just sitting around guys at a bar complaining, which isn't interesting for an hour.
Well, speaking of bars, sorry, Katie. I want to talk about the bar scene.
What did you guys think of the misdirects the film was trying to give us? I mean, there was one definitely with the daughter, where the daughter's footprint was bloody footprint was underneath the mom, and then the whole thing, like with her Instagram, and she's talking to that guy in the tub, and he's saying he could take care of it and stuff, and then she's like, you've got the different images of how she hates AI and all that stuff. And I was like, so are you trying to get us to think that the daughter did it and stuff like that? And I don't know. I felt like those misdirects, like you put a lot of effort into doing that, and then they just went nowhere. It's like, I see what you're doing. I see you're trying to fool us and stuff like that. And then you go way off into this whole other thing with the boyfriend / maybe lover / I don't know, who apparently knew a lot more about his wife than he did, and he admits that. But
can I build on what you're saying, Katie, there for a second too? See, there's going to be red herrings. There always are. Some are more obvious than others. These are, here comes the red herring. We think it's his wife's lover. It's not, and they pretty much get rid of that quickly. And then you start to think, well, maybe it'll come back to him. But he's sort of discarded quickly. But he's a red herring. The daughter's a red herring too. But they do one thing, though, that is almost kind of, I dare say, seems to me like a rookie mistake, even though these people are veteran filmmakers like the director and the actors and stuff. Or it's just bad thinking. And that is, two of the key roles that seem very small and insignificant in it are cast with name actors in it. Kaylee Reese and Chris Sullivan. Those are Emmy-nominated star characters from television shows. And together combined, they have about 3 minutes of...
I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, well... Well, for those who do, they're recognizable faces, but they combined have about 4 minutes of screen time in up until the last half hour. And then you're like, well, we know they're coming back because they're name actors. And sure enough, those are the two people who figure as the culprits in it. And I was waiting for it's like, come on, let's get Kaylee in there because we're done with Sullivan now. Now we get Kaylee Reese back. You can't do that anymore in this day and age. It goes back to what it was, 92 when Kevin Spacey refused to do press for Seven because he said, as soon as people know I'm in it and you put my name in the credits, they're going to go, well, why isn't he showing up yet? Oh, he must be the bad guy. Damn right. I mean, he knew back then as an actor, even though the actors wanted the claim and fame and going on the junkets and all that kind of stuff, he said, your film ain't going to work if they know I'm in it. I have to be a complete surprise when I show up at the police station covered in blood. And he's right. Here we are 30 years later, and these filmmakers don't know. You can't put name actors or recognizable actors when everybody else is an unknown in these rather unsignificant roles because they're always going to come back and be more significant by the nature of the casting with good people.
Well, I think there's two schools of thought. One, you're absolutely right, Jeff, but the other is that's almost a red herring by putting them in a role that becomes a nothing role. It's like, that person really was just on there for 4 minutes because they really wanted to work with Timur. But I I do want to kind of go back to the bar thing. But before that, I want to talk about.
I love David. I just want to talk with him here more than at the bar.
No, but because there's a bar scene in this movie
the
at the
bar
very
scene.
beginning,
I gotcha.
which I guess we'll just talk about it now. I'll try and remember.
People
the
are
other thing I wanna
blacked out
talk
drunk,
about.
but they somehow can fight 5 people.
Isn't he apprehended at the bar at like 10:30 or 11 in the morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And he's fighting rather cogently. And
Well,
yet he's supposed to not having.
Well,
memory of it.
he's been drinking for a while, so it might be closer to noon. Who knows?
well, it's not too much because I mean the people are still on the crime scene when they catch him, and that's supposed to be 5 hours later. But I did check, and I actually prepared for this. I looked to see if there were any bars in Southern California that would be open at 10 a.m. to serve alcohol, and there are. And I talked to a friend who has family members who are alcoholics because I thought that was ridiculous that if he leaves his wife's house at 9:50, goes to a place and can get that drunk that fast and that angry. And she actually told me, it's like, honestly, you give this person I know 3 drinks, they are a totally different person. I'm like, okay, so I will give that the benefit of doubt. I thought that was ridiculous, but thank you for clarifying.
He's an alcoholic and a lightweight.
I know.
Well,
that actually makes me. That actually gives me the film a teeny tiny bit more credit than I gave it.
Well, and
generally
Jeff,
too, I'm just going to say generally too, in most cities, if you have a hotel that has a continental breakfast, the bar is open, so you can technically be drinking at 7 a.m. if you want. I mean, not only just Bloody Marys, but they will have serving drinks from somebody on staff, even if it's just a sort of to serve supposedly the breakfast patrons, but you can get drinking at 7 a.m. in most hotels.
Not my Motel 6.
Yeah, I don't. He wasn't drinking in a motel.
Well,
though.
I'm just saying that's a place though where they
Yeah.
serve alcohol.
Maybe
Well,
maybe that was a cop bar.
Maybe. I mean,
that's why they got there so quickly.
Yeah, they got there real quick.
Now, Jeff, I wanted to mention something. This is so bad. Earlier, we were talking about this, and you had asked because you said you've never been intoxicated and certainly never blackout drunk. I've been drunk a couple of times in my life. I think precisely twice, and I always remembered things. You said, "Is it possible to get blackout drunk and still get into this crazy bar fight and have no idea what happened?" I said I wasn't sure. But then just now, I remembered an event from my childhood involving my dad. And I can say with absolute certainty, yes, you can get blackout drunk, have a violent episode, and have no recollection of it the next day. A story for another time, perhaps.
Yeah, you definitely can. I have stories regarding that.
Awesome.
Well, but did you have an effective fight with 5 other people in a bar where you're throwing punches with the ability of Joe Frazier?
I had
I don't know about that.
Altercation with a number of people, and then text people pound 4, and I have no idea what that meant, and then proceeded to throw up outside my taxi, which this is before Uber and taxis charge people $50. So I may have been the catalyst for that. I'm not sure. But yeah,
we're going to blame you from now on, Kate.
I have no recollection of any of that. Only what my friends told me the next day. And then I looked at my cell phone. I'm like, what the hell is pound 4? And they're like, we have no idea. So tequila is fun, kids. Tequila is fun.
Maybe it was pound 4 tequilas. That's what it was.
No, I don't know what
you were trying to record it for posterity. No, but regarding that bar fight, this is within the first 15 minutes of the film, and I thought it was setting the tone for a hilarious thrill ride of absurdity, because when Chris Pratt is watching this, or Chris Raven, sorry, Judge Maddox shows him all the cameras in the bar for when he gets apprehended and he starts arguing with the cops, and then it's a full-blown throwing each other around this bar. I thought it was a Family Guy sketch. I mean, it is so cartoonishly rough. I don't think exactly. I don't think there's any music to it. It's just him watching this absurd footage. I mean, it really is ridiculous. But unfortunately,
they had the Benny Hill soundtrack going on when that was happening. Because honestly, I was watching that and like, this would have been funny.
Or
that's
Tool.
Tool. Well, I gotta say that I was disappointed when the rest of the movie failed to live up to that level of absurdity, because I was shocked, gang. I walked in with very low expectations, partially because of some of the vibes that I got from folks who'd seen it before. And the deeper I got into this story, the deeper into this 90 minutes, the more I was kind of caught up, because there are some kind of cool revelations. They're the kinds of things where, at least for me, I didn't really pick up on, well, that doesn't make any sense, or that could have been finessed a bit more, tightened up here or there, until after it was over. I think this movie starts off with Chris Pratt as an actor in a very vulnerable spot. David, you mentioned he's, very good and he can act his way in and out of a chair. But I thought he was really overplaying the drunk and confused kind of thing. I mean, that is also a Family Guy moment, like, where am I? Oh, what's going on? Also, they've got the
MacFarlane could play this role better.
He could. I've seen him on the Orville. He can walk that fine line.
Yep.
But no, Jeff, something that you had mentioned about about his instant sobriety. Apparently, this is technology that we're going to have at our fingertips within 4 years. Is the ability to detox someone while they're sitting in a chair remotely using AI, because she basically said, please hold, and like your blood alcohol content is now back to stable levels. I'm like, that's really interesting. I didn't see any needles or anything going into them.
That would be handy.
Fine. Yeah.
I could have used that in college.
Along with Uber, apparently. But
30s.
I don't know. I liked some of the twists and turns. I'm a sucker for it, and maybe it's that because it was not as bad as I had expected it to be, even on a technical level, because there is some really impressive, car stunt work here. Since we're talking spoilers, you might as well just get into it. There's a long, convoluted, winding road of Chris Raven's wife's murder happened because she worked at this company which sold a chemical that was being used on the black market because it's in lots of different products and it can be used to make crystal meth. And so someone was skimming off the top. Spoiler alert, turns out it's his wife's boss / Chris Raven's AA sponsor. That was a new one.
Can we get this down to one actor so we can save the budget?
Well, and
I
then
want to do all these flashing things flying by him towards the last third to make it exciting.
Yeah, it goes deeper than that too when you find out what the whole connection, how the whole connection started.
Oh yeah, with the photograph, we're back to that kind of motif where there's a torn / folded photograph. Turns out the brother of the AA sponsor / wife's boss was
that was so bad.
Adopted, or the birth blood brother of the first person to be executed via this system. Now, here's the thing. Take out 2-3 levels of that confusion. I think it's kind of a nice touch, because as we find out, Robert, who's the sponsor, who's very good friends with Chris Raven, Raven fell off the wagon, or he decided he needed help with his alcoholism after this program had been put in place, and he and his wife started having troubles in their marriage. And Robert's brother was the first guy executed under the Mercy program. When Chris Raven walks into his AA meeting, he immediately sizes him up. And this is all handled in dialogue. And that's why I think the last 30 minutes of this movie are much tighter in terms of narrative than the first hour. And there's a solid film in here. It's just not this movie.
It's just wrapped in a lot of these cop cliches and crime thriller cliches. Yeah. Why did he turn to booze? His partner died right in front of him. His knees exploded. It was awful.
Oh, I like that bit because it's a traffic stop. Chris Raven takes a phone call while his partner gets out to investigate this truck with blacked out windows. So, right, but there's a gunshot. The partner, he looks like he dodged it, like they had shot outside the truck. But he gets behind the vehicle to take cover. The truck backs up and rams the cop between the two cars.
Purposely.
Cut to they're steaming down the highway in a high-speed chase, and Chris Pratt is calling into base saying, yeah, my partner's been shot. I'm like, wait, what?
Man down.
No, how about let's not bury the lead here. He was just crushed between two cars
While I was on the phone.
while I was on the phone.
See, you
Well,
actually.
and-
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
go
he
ahead.
is still alive and talking. It's like, no, you go after him. Don't you take? It's like, I need to get you to the hospital. It's like, no, you don't. And then it's like,
Yeah, it's like just let him get away. Some helicopter version of LA, which there are plenty of those cops buzzing around can pick up the scent. But see, you're interesting. Again, I know we're rewriting as we go along here, but see, I'm thinking like, were there any meetings between creative people in the room to talk about the script and how to make it better? Maybe so. Maybe the first script was just utter crap that they got to this and they thought, hey, we've struck gold. But you just said something interesting, and that is, for example, okay, here's the first person who was dead, or here's this guy we're interviewing now, like almost like when you're watching Prime on Amazon. You get the side thing with all the characters who are in that scene and who's playing them and their little bio, and you can dig a little deeper. Wouldn't it have been better if the AI is finding this, like, wait a minute, this person is related to that, and then she ends up starting to help the defense because she's got this information that she's found out, and then somebody goes like, wait a minute, I just found this interesting here. I didn't know this before because there's no reason to talk to this guy, but this is I know that's giving away the big surprise at the end, but see, that's the way smarter scripts are written. You get to the stuff that most people save for the last half hour in the first 45 minutes. Then where do you go? If you ever read a book on screenwriting, the premise of most screenplays, and people I think forgetting this even today, even though it was a de facto thing for decades, and that is at the 60-minute mark, the story changes. It's like, oh, I didn't expect that, because now you've got to keep the audience on its toes and you don't want them to get ahead of you. So at the 60-minute mark, the script somehow changes things.
Yep.
So do that here, and then spend the last hour doing something different. Have his guilt not, necessarily the whole shebang, like, will it get below 92%? Have it become something different, where slowly but surely the AI is becoming more of a defense counsel. That kind of thing would have been more interesting. Or find something that she's been, maybe her program is being shut down by somebody who's operating from the outside. So it's a prejudiced judge because somebody's manipulating the judge from. It needed something like that rather than the expected stuff with, well, there's two name actors that Jeff, Katie, and David at least recognized. They're going to come back, because this isn't clever enough to say, well, we're going to put these people in nothing roles just because they're the friends of the director. Not this movie.
There's it's interesting. I think, Jeff, this movie does change at the 60-minute mark, unfortunately, because I again, Katie, maybe you can speak to this because I have to watch it again, but I think it's around that time that they introduced that whole idea of the chemical compound,
Right.
and that, but they also layer about 6 or 7 different subplots on top of that. So it doesn't matter that they changed the story. They just made it more confusing. And I am glad that they sidestepped a couple of things that I fully expected to see in this movie, and I didn't. One is the sorry, 1 second. One is the notion of the interference that you had mentioned, Jeff, like someone tampering with the AI judge. I fully expected to see that. That didn't happen. The judge does glitch out, but it's not clear that it's been. Oh, we lost Jeff.
oh,
Jeff, come back. Well, we'll wait for Jeff to. Well, I'll be on the lookout for Jeff, but I'll continue my point.
AI glitched.
He did, oh, here he comes.
Not sure what happened.
Oh, hey, you're back. That's what matters.
Yeah, so
The movie didn't like that I was.
Hey, now you're over there.
Oh yeah, it's all turned around. But sorry, let me just get back to my thought here. There wasn't any outside interference. I fully expected that. The other thing is, this is the one movie about AI that I can recall where one of the key plot points is not, oh, we faked this image or we faked this video of the likeness of this person in order to deceive another character and or the audience. I thought that I was waiting to see, especially because we get a couple of these the scanning faces shots with a dot matrix kind of coming over someone's face. I'm like, oh, that's going to come in later. It doesn't, and I think that was pretty smart. One thing that was mentioned was the boyfriend, the wife's boyfriend, or the person that she had been meeting for coffee. It's kind of unclear if the relationship, the work buddy. It was unclear if it went beyond that, but I think in a stronger screenplay, the point of that relationship would have been more clearly underlined and seen as a through line to the end of the film, because that revelation happens way too early in the film, where there's a whole big kind of chase. This boyfriend character is a suspect in the murder. They kind of catch up to him, and he says, look, me and your wife were just friends, and she needed me as emotional support because you weren't around, and when you were around, you were just like yelling at her and not being emotionally invested. And when it turns out that Chris Raven needs information from this guy because the wife had confided in him about problems she was having at work, which leads to the whole chemical conspiracy, he has a line. He's like, wow, you really were checked out, which I thought was a really kind of profound moment, because that was the most important thing going on in her life, and something that ultimately led to her death. And her own husband, who she shared a house and a bed with, couldn't even receive it. Yeah. But there's something there. And I think that should have come back at the end of the film, maybe even have it to where it's not the wife who is the victim, but someone else who is a close family friend or someone else on the force, so that at the end they can have that moment of reconnecting, and Chris Raven go to his wife and say, I've been an idiot. let's have more conversations instead of me throwing things against the wall.
Really quick, I'm at 7%. I know it's counting right there. I'm like 7% guilty. So I'm good. Or is it 7% innocent? But I thought it was really funny that his partner Jack was the only cop who can use a hover bike. No other cop is using a hover bike. Yeah, this is supposed to be in the future. So why is she the only one? Is she like? Does she get it for a week? Do you like check it out and check it in?
No, what it is, David?
It's like in the air running on hover bikes.
No, what it is, they don't get more hover bikes for the force until they get up to at least 25 cases. So they've got like another 6 months before they can get another.
Come on, guys, we gotta get a new hover bike.
You know, the other thing that I was going to say that I think is naive about this movie, at least the sort of approach to it, is I kept waiting for sort of an obvious lesson that I think we have gotten to now, especially as AI has become so front and center and examined over the last couple of years. And that is sort of what Ben Affleck was talking about this last week when he was out promoting The Rip. And that is that AI is only going to be as good as what people use it for or the people making it.
Yeah.
In other words, human flaws and, whatever you want to call it can affect it. And I thought that maybe there was an opportunity in this film, like the computer, continually does that same bullshit that we've seen in computers since Nomad, in the Changeling episode of Star Trek, the original series back in the 60s with, I am a computer, you are imperfect. You thought I was Kirk, the creator. I'm not. I'm, that was your first mistake. Your second mistake is you didn't catch your mistake. And your third mistake is you didn't annihilate. But they assume that the computer is perfect. It's going to be perfect in this. And very quickly, it's proven not to be. And I thought that there was more of an interesting opportunity to talk about, well, how was it programmed? What did they find? Why didn't they find stuff? And then if maybe the computer starts to emit more. But I mean, we've had AI now for 5 years, and if you try to have them do an illustration of something, they still give everybody 7 fingers. Mm-hmm. On what planet does anybody have 7 fingers? How is that in the programming? So why do we assume here that, because it's an AI-run judiciary, it's all perfect? That's not how the society would be. Yeah. That's not how the cops would be. That's not how the history of AI would be. And this film just seems to go to the default of Nomad, HAL 2000, whatever computer, they're always perfect. It's like, no, it's more interesting to have it recognize that it's not, and then work double time to try to make sure that it can be better while the actual trial is going on and this man's life is ticking away. That would have been a much more better thing. They brush up against that a little bit, but I think that should have been the theme of the last third of it, more than, here's the big reveal, here's the whodunit. A little less important there. What's more important is I think that the computer was sort of like, now I'm the defense attorney.
Well, the computer did help him out at one point when he was about to give up in the middle of the movie. Mm-hmm. And she said, if you give up,
use it.
Well, but she goes beyond that. She says, if you give up now, then, you'll lose both your wife and your daughter.
Right.
And there's a picture of the three of them laying in the grass, and she, Back to the Future style, makes the wife and the daughter disappear from the picture.
Well, no, she makes.
Doc, are you telling me
No,
the
she makes Chris
Doc, what
and the
happened?
wife disappear from the picture so
Yeah.
that the daughter is going to be an orphan.
Oh, that's what it was.
Well, yeah.
But see,
Well,
it would
but-
have been more interesting if she was using her facts thing. Like, have you looked at this? Have talked about that, like brainstorming with them with stuff. Instead, she's like, oh, suddenly has a heart. I mean, maybe she was programmed that way, but it's an effective piece. I grant you, Ian. It's a good scene, but there's
Well,
other
I
stuff
don't-
she could have been asking too.
That's the thing is, I don't know if it's a good scene. To me, it seems like a cheat because,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really pay off later in the film of like, is she starting to turn around?
Mhm.
Because if she was an impartial piece of AI, she would have just said, well, it is your decision, but you've got, this much time left. She was saying essentially, use this time, otherwise your kid's going to be orphaned. A cold justice system AI isn't going to give a crap. If
Or
anything,
if
it's
they
going
are
to want to
saying-
get those numbers of saying, hey, we've got our 19th successful
It'd be
execution.
great if it was like
Or she could have said, your daughter has a 98% chance of falling into foster care, and the success rate in that is about 38%. I mean, she could have thrown out some really awful stats,
That-
which would scare the shit out of them.
That would have been interesting too. That would have been a way to get around that emotional manipulation problem by using his knowledge of what those cold hard facts mean to kind of re-kickstart his brain and his heart. Sorry, David, go ahead.
I would have liked like a snarky AI with like a Natasha Lyonne voice or something. Your daughter's better off as an orphan with the way you treat your wife.
That would have been merciless.
bullshit.
Yeah.
You didn't really mean that. You just said that. Come on,
Right.
stop lying to me.
I do think it's interesting how the court, use the manipulation of social media and how people use it to like document all these things, especially one scene that still doesn't make much sense to me and rethinking about it. After Chris's partner dies, his wife is filming and she seems really excited, like something happened, and he walks in the door and she's like, oh my God, what happened? I'm like, dude, why are you filming? You're acting like it's his birthday. It's
I don't think that was the wife. I think that was the daughter, because the wife was
no, that was the wife.
But the wife was in frame to give him a hug.
Because she asked, like, baby, what happened? He's like, Ray's dead.
But the camera was very low in the shot as we're watching it. We see him come through the door, and she's like standing off to the side, and she goes to meet him and hug him.
Oh, you're saying that the daughter was filming.
I think the daughter was filming, like she was just messing around on her phone.
Gotcha.
It still is a bit weird because
it's like, even if we're talking about this happening now or last year, because we're trying to, God, that's really crazy that this is only supposed to happen like next year, 2027, then 2029. So that all that stuff. But in any case, it just seemed like a weird thing that I feel like this would have been something that would have been on the news and that someone would have informed her that something had happened, and he walks
involving
in the
her
door,
husband. Yeah.
And the daughter's filming like it's his birthday. And then he says, but I also had the whole thing about the guy who backed into his partner and then he's running after him on the beach. He goes into the ocean and then pulls him out and stuff. And then you see his trial. It's like, not guilty. And he just goes, oh, like that. I'm like, what is happening here?
Why are we glossing over these details?
He didn't get that justice.
This isn't the criminal we know did the wrong thing. Why don't you blame the jury? Like, or we just go with the judicial system? Because this is like, what could the jury have seen? It's like, yeah, I think we need to let him go. It's like you have multiple cameras and stuff, and the drone shots following this car chase for some reason. I don't even know why that would have happened at that time. But in any case, it just seems just so dumb. And then he starts drinking immediately.
Well, as you know, I wanted to at some point during this movie, but okay, we're going to wrap it up here because David, your laptop is about to die, and I want to see if we can get you out of here before that happens. So I've got like 5 minutes or less to prove that I can end the show. Well, no, actually, I want to bring that up because I brought this up on the Sunday live stream. As many of you know, StreamYard has opened up YouTube to a vertical and a horizontal presentation. Somehow that kicks the algorithm into overdrive, and so we are able to get our programming out to even more people. The downside is that a lot of strange folks seem to be watching this show, and that's no criticism on anyone, but a lot of people who like to make comments. And I've taken a preview of some of the comments on the comment section, and there seems to be one person who's having a really good time with himself.
Yeah.
So I am not going to read any comments tonight, and I'm going to reiterate a message that I said on the Sunday show. If you watch this show and you decide to put in comments that are nonsensical, non-helpful, hateful, irrelevant, just, use your better judgment, because I'm not going to read them. You are actually wasting your time. You're not wasting my time because I'm not going to read them. Unfortunately, I know Saji is in the comments and he's left some stuff, but I'm just not going to read anything tonight. I am going to end on Sajiwa's question to the group, though, from a previous Facebook message. And he had asked basically, well, let me just get it verbatim here, because
hurry up, you got 3%, man. Hurry up.
You've done well on 4%. We've gotten you like 5 minutes, sir. All right.
I'm Judge Blonde. Welcome to the Mercy Court. Yeah.
All right. Here's the Jewish question. Why is Chris Pratt, Hollywood star, in a movie produced by the guy who produced the Ice Cube War of the Worlds, one of the worst movies? Maybe this was done at an earlier time. Maybe they paid Pratt what he was asking for. Maybe Pratt needs the work / money. Any theories on that? And apparently I did see one thing. I guess there was a Hollywood Reporter article or something where he said he was stunned, not Sadio, but Chris Pratt, by the film's underperformance.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think Chris Pratt is the Chris Pratt that he used to be like 5 years ago.
Definitely not.
I feel like there's definitely been a shift in his popularity, and even the every guy, he's not the dumpy guy from Parks and Recreation who would really make funny off-brand comments and stuff on the clips, if you've seen them when they do the outtakes and stuff like that. He's naturally freaking funny, really funny. And I feel like he lost his funny bone in the past 5 to 7 years. There's just something that has definitely happened. So I'm honestly not surprised.
Here's the thing, too. You don't see Ralph Fiennes bemoaning his box office from the Bone Temple previous week. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mercy actually dethroned Fire and Ash.
It did.
So
I mentioned that at the top of the show, but
hey, crying, Pratt.
It's because it made $11 million, and part of that is, I think, the polar vortex. Like, it's really bad and dangerous to go out to the theater. So I guess they're lucky they made even that much money. But yeah, I'm there with you, David. I haven't read the piece, so I don't know if he was bemoaning it or whatever. If someone just happened to ask him, like, hey, your movie bombed this weekend, what do you think about it? He might have just said, well, I'm disappointed. Chris Pratt is, disturbed by his terrible box office performance.
He's Dwayne Johnsoning himself. Dwayne Johnson will do this after Baywatch. He did this after a bunch of his other duds. It's like, well, we made that for the fans. Well, it's disappointing. I'm like, dude, all you have to say is like, I don't know, man. We had fun making that movie. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors that play into that. Some that actors in the film can't even control, like weather, what also is opening, what sports is on television that weekend, 100 variables. If the movie's getting bad reviews, that's the reason that maybe Chris Pratt can stop scratching his head over. Wasn't that well received,
Well, I think one of the factors that might be, if I had to guess, and it's something we've been talking about for the last couple of years, is this is an MGM/Amazon release. You've got Amazon in the damn production company title, so there's probably a feeling of like, this will be out on VOD in like a week and a half. I'm not going to spend $10 and go outside and risk frostbite for a streaming film.
Exactly.
Also, I mean, he should just have the Michael Caine reaction to it. It's like about Jaws: The Revenge and how bad it is. He's like, I don't know. I didn't see it. But you know what I do know? It paid for that house. So there you go. Boop, doop, doo, doo.
That's right. And what he should do is, tap into his newfound family and just like do a buddy comedy where Arnold Schwarzenegger is his father-in-law and they're solving missions or something. I don't know. Anyhow,
that's a great idea, Ian. Honestly, serious. I would see that. That would be funny. That would probably be funnier than what the both of them have done the past 5 years.
Well, David just left us to go write that screenplay, so look for that coming soon. Anyhow, we're gonna
60% of his brain.
we're going to leave that here, everyone. David, I'm sorry I didn't get you out of here before your computer died, but we love you. I just want to say thanks again to all of Earth's Mightiest Critics. This is a really fun panel for a movie that I thought was more fun than y'all did, but ultimately not that great, and still full of promise, but it didn't quite deliver.
This was way more fun. This was way more fun.
I agree. I expected to laugh a lot more watching Mercy, but that barroom fight is one for the ages. Uh-oh.
3D glasses.
Oh.
I got a Mercy hat.
Oh.
And I took a picture with Rebecca Ferguson.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. So, it's a win-win.
But you weren't wearing the glasses or the hat. That's the
during the
believe how big those glasses
are.
To
be like Judge Maddox.
Katie, when you had that look, you very much reminded me of the visitors from V, like with the overgrown glasses and the hat and everything. If it had been, they're perfect.
Don't scratch your face too hard and start to pull the skin away.
Oh my gosh. That actually is what led me to get a guinea pig as a pet.
Really?
Yeah.
And the midnight snack, apparently.
No, I did not eat it, but I did love it.
I was going to say, we've got some stories to swap. Anyhow, folks, thank you again for hanging out. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We've had Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front, and Jeff York of the Establishing Shot and Pipeline Artists, and David Fowley of Keeping It Real. Please support all of Earth's Mightiest Critics. All of our information is down below. And if you like this show, please like and subscribe and all that good business. Ring the bell for notifications. Remember the commenting policy. Be good and join us back here next Tuesday night. That is February 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, because we're going to need some help as we request that Sam Raimi send help. That is the name of his film, and that's the movie we'll be discussing. Katie, I got to tell you, did you see this already? Was this already shown?
Okay. I did see it.
And David's not here to back me up on this, but he was with me at a screening recently where we saw the trailer for that movie. And I think my reaction to that trailer was coming off in like white hot steam. This movie looks like a cartoon. Now I'm hoping that it's very entertaining and not too heavy handed. Jeff, you and I are going to find out very soon. So we're going to go and hopefully have a good time with Sam Raimi's new film. Katie, you're giddy. You're jumping out of your skin to talk about this. So I'm gonna take those good vibes with me into the theater because I'm a big Sam Raimi fan. It's nice to see on the trailers from the director of The Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell, and not Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness.
Rachel Adams has a reputation of being a little particular with scripts too. So unless she's not getting handed a lot these days, hopefully it's got some promise.
Yeah. And I think this might be, because I didn't see Twinless last year, unfortunately. And I'm trying to think of another film that I would have seen Dylan O'Brien in. I don't know if No. This might be, because I know he's been in a lot of things, especially the last couple of years. This might be my first experience with Mr. Dylan O'Brien. So that's kind of exciting.
He was very good in Twinless.
Yeah.
He's excellent in Twinless. Excellent in Twinless.
Damn. Okay. Got one more to add to the list before I can officially close out 2025.
And Anniversary.
Yes, that's right. You're very high in that one too. Okay, so 2 more things. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks everybody for hanging out and watching. What did you think of Mercy? If you watched it, or are you just going to wait for it on streaming? Feel free to leave a comment. Down in the comment section, not here in the live stream, of course, because we're going to be gone in a couple of seconds. But until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much. Take care, and justice is served or something.